Ever noticed how one person's bad mood can drag down an entire room? You walk into a meeting feeling fine, but someone sighs, mutters under their breath, and suddenly the air feels heavier. That's not your imagination. Negative emotions really do spread faster than positive ones. And there's a fascinating mix of biology, psychology, and social dynamics behind it. Let's start with something simple. Our brains are wired to detect threats. Thousands of years ago, that wiring kept us alive. Imagine two early humans, one who ignored a rustle in the bushes and one who paid attention to it. If that rustle was a predator, the cautious one survived. Over generations, this bias for noticing danger, what scientists call the negativity bias, became deeply rooted in our minds. It's estimated that humans respond to negative stimuli about 3 times more strongly than to positive ones. That means one bad comment can outweigh 3 compliments in our memory and mood. Today, the rustle in the bushes might be a harsh email, a stressful headline, or a tense facial expression. But our brains still treat it like a potential threat. When we see someone frowning or angry, our mirror neurons, tiny cells that help us empathize, light up. We don't just recognize their emotion, we feel a trace of it ourselves. That's emotional contagion in action. And according to a 2021 study from the University of Amsterdam, these contagious emotions can spread through groups in less than 2 minutes of interaction. Here's an example. Picture a morning commute. A driver cuts someone off. The honking, the anger, it ripples backward through traffic. Each driver carries a touch of that irritation into their next interaction. Maybe a curt word at the coffee shop, a tense meeting shortly after. By noon, one person's frustration has quietly infected a dozen others. Positive emotions can spread too, of course, but they require more energy and attention to take hold. Why? Partly because our brains give more weight to bad news. On social media, posts with anger or outrage get shared about twice as often as neutral or happy posts. Researchers at MIT found that false or emotionally charged stories are 70% more likely to be retweeted than factual or uplifting ones. It's not that people prefer negativity, it's that emotional intensity grabs attention, and our attention is wired for survival. Think of emotions like colors on a canvas. Negative ones, fear, anger, sadness, are painted in bold, dark strokes. Positive ones, calm, joy, gratitude, are lighter, subtler hues. The dark shades stand out first. They demand to be noticed. In evolutionary terms, noticing the negative helped us survive danger. Noticing the positive was optional. That old wiring still runs the show. Now consider how this plays out at work. Imagine a team where one member constantly complains about management. Even if the rest are motivated, that steady drip of cynicism can sap everyone's energy. A 2020 Gallup report found that employees exposed to frequent negativity from coworkers were 30% more likely to report burnout within 6 months. That's not just a morale issue, it's contagious stress, measurable in cortisol levels. Neuroscience offers more clues. When we experience or witness negativity, the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, activates rapidly. It sends a burst of signals that heighten alertness and memory formation. That's why you can vividly recall a moment of embarrassment from years ago but forget yesterday's compliments. The amygdala ensures that negative experiences stick. Meanwhile, positive emotions rely more on the prefrontal cortex, which processes slowly and calmly. It's like the difference between an emergency siren and a soft melody. Guess which one your brain hears first. But there's more to it than biology. Social norms amplify the spread. When someone expresses anger or fear, we subconsciously match their tone to maintain social harmony, a process psychologists call emotional synchronization. It's a form of empathy gone automatic. In groups, this synchronization can create what researchers describe as mood convergence. If 3 people in a team are anxious, the rest soon follow, even if they can't pinpoint why. It's subtle, but it shapes decisions, creativity, and even group performance. Let's look at digital life for a moment. Online, negativity moves at lightning speed because algorithms reward engagement. And what drives engagement? Strong emotion. When you scroll through comments, the ones that make you angry or defensive are the ones you're most likely to reply to. That's how outrage cycles are born. A single negative tweet can trigger thousands of emotional responses within hours. Researchers from Yale found that moral outrage on Twitter increased by 17% per year between 2015 and 2020, not necessarily because people became angrier, but because the system rewarded outrage with likes, shares, and attention. In short, negativity spreads because it gets reinforced, biologically, socially, and technologically. Still, that doesn't mean we're powerless. Understanding the mechanism gives us a way to interrupt it. One key is awareness. When you sense tension in a group, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is this emotion mine or am I catching it from someone else? That tiny question can create a mental gap, a space to choose your response instead of absorbing the mood. Another is emotional regulation. Studies show that people who practice mindfulness or simple breathing exercises are 40% less likely to mirror others' negative emotions in stressful situations. Mindfulness activates the prefrontal cortex, dampening the amygdala's alarm. In practice, that means you can stay calm even when others can't. Let's take a real-world example. In hospitals, nurses often face emotional contagion from patients and families. A 2022 study in the journal Frontiers in Psychology found that teams who practiced short gratitude reflections at the start of shifts reported lower collective stress and higher patient satisfaction scores. It wasn't about ignoring pain or frustration, it was about balancing the emotional tone before beginning the day. That small habit changed the atmosphere of entire units. We can apply the same principle anywhere. When you walk into a tense room, bring a calm tone, even a small smile. It doesn't mean forcing positivity, it means offering emotional stability. Think of it like emotional herd immunity. If enough people regulate their responses, negativity loses its power to spread. But why doesn't positivity spread as easily on its own? Part of the answer lies in attention economics. Positive emotions are quieter. They don't demand immediate action. You rarely feel an urgent need to share calmness, but you feel compelled to share outrage. It's the difference between "you won't believe what happened" and "I had a nice day." One triggers curiosity and adrenaline, the other fades into the scroll. That's why good news often needs deliberate amplification. There's also a cultural factor. In some workplaces or social circles, expressing frustration earns validation, while expressing joy can seem naive. Sociologists call this negativity bonding. It's when people connect through shared complaints. It feels good in the moment, like solidarity, but over time, it strengthens negative emotional loops. If you've ever left a venting session feeling worse instead of better, you've felt this effect firsthand. The antidote isn't blind optimism, it's emotional balance. Recognizing the negative without letting it dominate. A healthy emotional environment allows room for both honesty and hope. That's where leadership comes in. A leader's emotional tone sets the baseline for a group. Research from the University of Michigan found that teams led by emotionally positive managers showed 31% higher engagement and 19% better performance over 6 months compared to those led by neutral or negative ones. The reason? People subconsciously mirror their leaders' emotional signals. When those signals are calm, confident, and solution-focused, the group's collective mood stabilizes. Let's think about this in everyday terms. Imagine a family dinner where one person arrives clearly upset. Everyone else feels it within seconds. Voices soften. Tension fills the silence. Then someone cracks a gentle joke or shares a small win from the day. There's laughter, a shift, a release. That's emotional contagion working both ways. Negative first, but positive following with effort. It takes one person's conscious choice to reverse the current. In relationships, this pattern can define the emotional climate over time. Couples who dwell on criticism instead of appreciation report lower satisfaction and resilience. Psychologist John Gottman famously found that stable relationships maintain a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative interactions during conflict. That means for every criticism, there are 5 moments of affection, humor, or support. It's not about avoiding negativity. It's about counterbalancing it quickly before it spreads. On a societal level, the same principle applies. When communities experience crisis, natural disasters, political upheaval, pandemics, fear and anger often dominate early conversations. But recovery depends on the spread of hope, empathy, and trust. After the 2011 earthquake in Japan, sociologists tracking social media found that posts expressing gratitude and cooperation gradually replaced panic within 2 weeks, once people began sharing positive stories intentionally. That deliberate shift helped stabilize morale nationwide. Positivity can spread, it just requires conscious amplification. So how do we become better transmitters of calm? First, notice your own signals. Tone of voice, facial tension, even posture can broadcast emotion more than words. A relaxed posture and steady breathing signal safety to others. Second, be selective about emotional input. Limit exposure to outrage-driven media. Curate your social feeds to include content that informs without overwhelming. And third, cultivate micro moments of positive emotion. Psychologist Barbara Fredrickson's research shows that even brief experiences of gratitude or connection, lasting just 10 seconds, can undo the physiological effects of stress for hours afterward. It's like emotional first aid for the brain. There's something beautifully human about all this. The same system that makes negativity contagious also makes compassion contagious. Mirror neurons don't discriminate. They reflect whatever they see. When we witness kindness or calm, the same neural circuits activate as if we performed the act ourselves. That's why watching someone help a stranger can make you feel warmer inside. It's emotional contagion again, but this time working in our favor. The challenge is that positive contagion requires intention. Negativity happens by default. Positivity happens by design. But once you understand the mechanism, you can steer it. You can choose to be the person who shifts the emotional tone rather than absorbs it. So next time you sense tension rising, at work, online, or at home, pause. Take one slow breath before responding. That single pause interrupts the reflexive spread of negativity. Then offer something small but authentic, a calm tone, a kind word, a sense of perspective. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about anchoring others when emotions tilt off balance. And if you'd like more insights like this, ways to understand your mind, your emotions, and your behavior, remember to subscribe to Tortoise Brain. It's a simple step, but like any positive habit, it starts a ripple. Let's circle back to where we began. One person sighs, and the room feels heavier. But one person can also smile, and the room feels lighter. The same mechanism, two different directions. Negativity may travel faster, but positivity can travel farther because it builds connection, trust, and resilience as it moves. In the end, emotions are social energy. They flow between us like invisible currents. We can't stop them entirely, but we can guide their course. Each interaction, each response is a chance to choose which current we feed, the one that drains or the one that uplifts. So maybe the next time you catch yourself absorbing someone else's bad mood, you'll pause and remember, this is just biology doing its job. And you can do yours by slowing the spread, resetting the tone, and sending something better back into the world. Because while negative emotions may spread faster, positive ones have the power to last longer. And that's the kind of contagion worth sharing.